The hospital room was silent except for the slow, steady rhythm of the heart monitor. White walls, sterile air, and the faint smell of disinfectant. They all blended together into a world of despair. On the bed lay Isabella Hartman, the once bright daughter of one of the city's most powerful CEOs. Only 18, her body now lay still, lifeless from the neck down, paralyzed after a tragic accident. Her big brown eyes stared at the ceiling, filled not with hope, but with a deep and aching emptiness. Her father, Richard Hartman, a man feared in boardrooms and admired in newspapers, sat hunched in the corner of the room, his tailored suit wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot from nights of sleepless worry. Money could buy him everything, except his daughter's smile back, and lately he had begun to believe he had already lost her. Isabella no longer laughed, no longer spoke much, and no longer wanted to live. She had stopped believing life could be beautiful again. Hook CTI before I take you deeper into Isabella's story. If this moment has already touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, leave a kind comment below, and subscribe to Kindness Universe for more stories that remind us of the power of love, faith, and compassion. But Isabella's story wasn't over, because into this world of hopelessness would walk a man no one expected. A man with no wealth, no fame, no power. A single father, struggling to raise his little girl alone. And he would change everything with just 3 words whispered at the right time. I'll help you. Isabella's accident had been the kind of tragedy that makes headlines. The daughter of a billionaire CEO, thrown from her horse during a charity event, her spinal cord shattered in seconds. For weeks her survival was uncertain. When she finally opened her eyes, relief washed over her family, until the reality set in, she would never walk again. At first Isabella fought. She forced smiles when visitors came. She tried to stay strong for her father, for her mother, for her younger brother. But behind closed doors, she cried into her pillow, screamed at the unfairness, and begged God for answers. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. Slowly her light dimmed. She refused physical therapy. She barely touched her food. She pushed away friends. Even her father, who had built empires with his iron will, was powerless against her despair. Why try? She whispered one night when Richard tried to encourage her. I'll never dance again. I'll never even hold a cup of coffee by myself. I'm a burden. Dad, just let me go. Those words shattered him more than any business loss ever could. It was on one of those hopeless afternoons that Richard decided to take Isabella outside for fresh air. The hospital garden was quiet, with benches tucked between blooming roses and a fountain that sang softly in the background. He wheeled Isabella's chair to a shady spot, sat beside her, and tried to make small talk she barely answered. That's when they heard it, laughter. Pure, unfiltered laughter, the kind Isabella hadn't made in months. She turned her head slowly to see where it was coming from. At the far end of the garden, a little girl about 7 years old was giggling, chasing a paper butterfly on a stick. Her hair was tied in 2 messy pigtails, and her joy was so radiant it seemed to light up the entire garden. Behind her stood her father, a tall man in worn jeans and a faded t-shirt, his eyes full of gentle warmth as he encouraged his daughter to run faster. His hands were calloused, his face lined from years of hard work, but when he smiled at his child, it was as though the world softened around him. Isabella couldn't look away. That little girl, she had a slight limp. It was faint but noticeable. Yet she laughed as though nothing in the world could stop her. The father caught Isabella watching. Instead of looking away awkwardly, he gave a kind nod, guiding his daughter over. The girl chirped, her eyes sparkling. I'm Lily. Do you want to play with my butterfly? Isabella's lips parted, stunned. She hadn't been spoken to like that in months. Not as a patient, not as a fragile, broken thing, but as a person. Her voice cracked. I can't. Lily tilted her head. Why not? Because, Isabella whispered, her throat tightening. I can't move. I'm paralyzed. The little girl's innocent smile didn't fade. She simply nodded as though it were no big deal. Then she placed the butterfly wand gently in Isabella's lap. Then I'll play for you. And she ran off, spinning, laughing, making sure Isabella could see every flutter of the paper wings. For the first time in months, Isabella felt something stir inside her chest. A spark. The father stepped closer. I'm sorry if she disturbed you, he said softly. His voice was deep, steady, carrying the weight of quiet struggles and quiet strength. She didn't, Isabella whispered. He nodded, looking at her with eyes that saw her pain without judgment. I'm Daniel. He said simply, "Lily's dad." And in that moment, an unspoken bond began to form. Over the next days, Isabella found herself looking forward to afternoons in the garden. Daniel and Lily seemed to always be there, as though fate had written it into her story. Lily would bring little drawings for Isabella, or tell her funny stories about her stuffed animals, and Daniel, he never pitied her. He never treated her like she was broken. He simply talked to her, about books, about the world, about his late wife, who had passed away when Lily was just a baby. "You learn," he told her one day, "that even when life takes something away, it still gives you reasons to keep going. My daughter is mine. She keeps me alive." Isabella swallowed hard. She wanted to ask what kept her alive. She had everything money could buy. But inside, she felt empty. One afternoon, when her father had stepped away for a business call, Isabella finally asked the question that had been burning inside her. Why are you so kind to me?" Daniel's gaze softened. He knelt beside her chair, lowering his voice. "Because I see the way you look at the world. Like it's over. Like you're already gone. But I know that look. I've worn it myself. And I also know it doesn't have to stay that way." He leaned closer, his words carrying a quiet fire. "I'll help you." And something inside Isabella shifted. What followed wasn't a miracle cure. It wasn't sudden healing. It was small steps, though to Isabella they felt monumental. Daniel began joining her therapy sessions, encouraging her, cheering her on when she wanted to quit. Lily would hold her hand and say, "Come on, Bella. Just try one more time." Slowly, Isabella began to push herself again. When she cried from frustration, Daniel was there to wipe her tears. When she screamed that it was pointless, he calmly reminded her, "It's not about what you can't do. It's about what you will do." Her father noticed the change. He couldn't understand it at first, how a simple man with nothing had managed to do what money, doctors, and specialists couldn't. But he saw his daughter smiling again, and for Richard Hartman that was priceless. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Isabella's arms began regaining strength. She learned to maneuver her wheelchair more independently. She began painting again, something she had loved before the accident. Her eyes shone with purpose. But just when hope seemed steady, another challenge struck. Daniel lost his job at the factory. The bills piled up. His landlord threatened eviction. For a man already carrying so much, it felt like the world was pushing him down again. When Isabella found out, she broke down. "You've been there for me every day, and I can't do anything for you." Daniel smiled faintly, though his eyes were heavy. "You've already done everything. You reminded me why I keep fighting. You gave me hope too." Richard overheard, and for the first time the hardened CEO felt humbled. This man with nothing had given his daughter back her will to live. The next day Richard called Daniel into his office. The towering skyscraper, the polished marble floors, the intimidating boardroom. Daniel looked out of place in his worn jeans. But Richard stood, extended his hand and said, "Thank you for saving my daughter. I don't think I'll ever repay you, but I'd like to try. Will you work with me?" Second CTA before I share how this story ends. If you've been moved by Isabella's journey so far, please take a moment to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. Your support helps spread these powerful messages of love and hope to more hearts around the world. In the years that followed, life changed for all of them. Daniel became not just an employee, but a trusted partner in Richard's company, leading projects that supported families in need. Lily grew up alongside Isabella, their bond like sisters, and Isabella, though she never walked again, found something greater. She found purpose. With Daniel and Lily by her side, she began advocating for others with disabilities, creating programs to help young people rediscover hope. She became a voice, a light, a living reminder that life isn't about what you lose, it's about what you choose to live for. And every time she felt weak, every time doubt crept back in, she remembered the day a single dad knelt by her wheelchair, looked into her broken eyes, and whispered the words that rebuilt her life. "I'll help you." Because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can heal wounds no amount of money or medicine ever could. Ending message. No matter what you're going through, remember, hope can return in the most unexpected ways, often through the kindness of others. Never underestimate the power of compassion, because it can change a life forever.